Good evening. Wish to call the Lee County Board of Commissioners to order this 15th of May of 2023. If you would please stand with me, and we will have the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance. There's a lot on our agenda tonight, Father, that makes a big difference to the people in Lee County. And I pray, Father, for the kind of revelation that allows us to make wise decisions and to listen to the people that are here to talk to us and to one another. We thank you for the fact that you love us and that you're concerned about us and that you listen to what we say. And we praise you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have your agenda before you. Are there any additional agenda items to add? Seeing there are none, can I get an approval of the consent agenda?
Can I make a motion to pull, is that 2M from, and move it to old business?
It doesn't need to be a motion. You can just simply state you wish to pull it, Madam Commissioner.
May I please pull it?
You may. We're going to pull 2M from the consent agenda, and it's the approve the lease for the spec building number 3, and it'll go under old business as item letter A.
Thank you. Then make a motion to approve consent agenda as adjusted.
Motion's been made to approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to have the opportunity to present to the Chief Executive Officer of the Sand Hill Center, Victoria Witt, this following proclamation. This proclamation recognizing the service and retirement of Sand Hill Center Chief Executive Officer Victoria Witt. Whereas Victoria Witt graduated from Rockingham High School in 1972, then from St. Andrews Presbyterian College in 1976 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Religion and Philosophy and a Master of Public Administration from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte in 1994. Attended the Mental Health Leadership Academy at the University of Chapel Hill and the Keenan Flagler School of Business in 2008 and 2009. And whereas she worked as a vocational evaluator at the McLaurin Vocational Training Center from March of 1977 until April of 1980, where she became an alternative care network case manager with the Sand Hill Center UNC Chapel Hill Research Project from April 1980 until August 1983. And whereas Ms. Witt moved into the deinstitutionalized program director role at the Sand Hill Center, the coordinator of psychosocial rehabilitation programs, the coordinator of outpatient commitment efforts and processes, then the hospital liaison between Sand Hill Center and all local and state psychiatric and substance abuse inpatient programs from August of 1983 until April of 1985. And whereas she then became the Institutionalization Severe and Persistent Mental Health Illness Service Coordinator at the Sand Hill Center in April of 1985 to September of 1995, and assumed the role of Assistant Area Director until June of 2003. And whereas Ms. Witt became the Chief Operating Officer Deputy Area Director in June of 2003 until September of 2009, before assuming the duties of Interim Chief Executive Officer, September of 2009 until February of 2010. When she was appointed as Chief Executive Officer, Area Director of the Sand Hills Center Managed Care Organization, Local Management Entity, and Area Authority, which was the highest rated LME MCO on the annual Provider Satisfaction Survey for 5 years, and that should be for the state. Whereas Chief Executive Officer Ms. Witt oversaw the purchase and building of administrative offices in Greensboro, West End, and Asheboro, the building of child and adolescent facility-based crisis centers in Greensboro and Rockingham, and the building and staffing of a behavioral health urgent care center in Asheboro. And whereas Ms. Witt oversaw the administration of $21,190,456, providing services to 1,054 Lee County residents seeking behavioral care in 2022. And whereas it is the desire of the Lee County Board of Commissioners to recognize the achievements of Victoria Witt for her dedicated service and many contributions to the Sand Hills Center, as well as to the residents of Lee County. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Lee County Board of Commissioners that it congratulates Victoria Witt for a career in public service and a genuine interest in and concern for Lee County, and wishes her continued success in all her future endeavors for both her and her family. Signed this day, 15 May 2023, and sealed and secured by our clerk, Haley Hall. So I do want to say thank you very much. And we're going to scurry up to the stage here in a minute and get a picture, a group photo. And do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the resolution proclaiming and recognizing the service and retirement of Sand Hills Center Chief Executive Officer Victoria Witt. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So we're going to have a close picture. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Can you see everybody's face? Who's hiding? Who's behind me? Hiding. Thank you. And I do apologize. There's so much that Victoria has done in her career, and it just did not fit on the resolution page. My clerk and I were going back and forth trying to squeeze, to pare it down and such. But I can't say enough for Victoria in what she does and what she has done. And her understudy, Anthony Ward, will definitely fulfill his obligation to continue to be available whenever we call. And when we call or email, we always got an answer and response. And it's not an easy task dealing with the things in our society, but I commend her for her service, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with Sand Hills Center. With that, move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comments. And just a reminder, we will have a clock on the screen so that if you see it run down to 3 minutes, then you have to come to an end. That being said, when you do come to the front, please just make sure that you state your name as well as your address for the board. The first individual on the agenda for public comments is Christopher Cox.
Christopher Cox, 795 Thomas Kelly Road. Good evening, everybody. I live in the Cape Fear Fire Department District, and I am also a 21-year veteran of that fire department and this county since I was 17 years of age. I stand before you with all concern and disbelief upon myself and many of my colleagues. In the last few weeks, there have been many meetings, 6-page PowerPoints, memos, and behind-the-door talks that will, in essence, impact every single person in the county outside of the city fire district. Not only is this a monetary impact, this will be an impact of service. I have two main points of concern and interest for everyone to take into account. The one is the false claim of equality with service and equipment. The second being that of money and immediate and long-term capital outlay. Not to be forgotten that the money in each department's fund balance, if you look into it, should be and shall remain to that district because it was paid from that district for that district. The claim of equality with the same tax rate across the county with, I quote from the May 5th County Manager's memo, each district would be taxed at an equal rate for what should be the same level of service. There is no way you can maintain the same level of fire protection across this county with the current tax rate or the projected. None. For example, in one department in this county can provide 24-hour staff personnel, 365 days a year. Every department in this county should provide the same for the lives and property in their districts. Every one of you live in this county. Every one of you should get the same protection if you're paying the same rate. This is also true for the equipment and apparatus that serves each respective district. Also a quote from the county manager in the same memo from May 5th. We recognize that there may be issues that arise that will need to be addressed to get this ironed out. We ask that you have patience with us as we work through any issues that arise and continue to improve the process going forward. My question: why are we prompting that this is moving forward before it has been voted on or approved? Why are we expected to see this as an acceptable answer to our questions that if this does go forward that we're going to watch the county wing it? Due to uncertainty, poor planning, and no dry runs over a couple of fiscal years to validate the idea in place. This is by far the most premature and communist idea I have seen brought forth in a long time. Each department shows a budget every year which is reviewed, approved by the department's board, then a public hearing, then approved through the Fire Advisory Board since 2006, and finally through the county commissioners. There's a checks and balances like no other. I end at 5 seconds. Why is there no checks and balances for the flat fire tax shown to us? Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next individual on the David Smoke.
David Smoke, 96 Northridge Trail. Good evening, as always, Commissioners. Tonight I would like to give you my general budgetary opinions. I will paraphrase an old joke that I know Chairman Smith has heard a few times. I'm not an economist, I work for a living. So I do not claim to be an expert, but I am educated enough on the topic to be dangerous. There are two economic theories I will mention, Keynesian economics and the Laffer curve. Keynesian economics focuses on the role that government spending is supposed to interact with the private economy. One of the key principles everyone focuses on during recessions is that this is the time for increasing government spending and helping to stimulate and fill in the decrease of the private economy to keep things on a fairly smooth and sustainable path for recovery. One thing almost every politician and government employee fails to remember is that when the private economy is strong, however, that is the time to pull back government spending and build your reserves for those future bad times. Your increased government spending during a good economy is in direct competition with a good private economy. Your construction projects and hiring initiatives are helping create an upward spiral in costs in competition with the private market. There's another concept called the Laffer curve, which argues that lower taxes promotes greater incentives to work and therefore eventually creates greater tax revenue. I believe there are limitations to that theory, especially when dealing with trapped populations, but right now we are facing a new migratory trend in our nation that we haven't experienced in decades. Politicians that treated their populations like they were immobile things to be taxed and abused without repercussions are finding those populations leaving in droves. Last year, I give full credit to you commissioners for lowering our tax rates and actual tax bills. People will flock to our county, not just because of the jobs and good people we have here, but with your help to keep our taxes and cost of living as low as possible. I know there is a hefty Social Security raise for 2023, but looking forward to 2024 for those on fixed income, current projections for 2024 are looking at only 1% to 2% increase. Finally, regarding the school supplement program, and just to ensure I make absolutely no friends tonight, I get the feeling the deal is already done, but I wish the name would be changed. Our society has become very clever at word choices lately, and what used to be considered bonuses or locality cost of living adjustment pay are now called supplements. A supplement is understood by most to be an addition that is required to make something whole. We take supplements to ensure a healthy diet, for example. Once again, this name game is played at levels far higher than this county. I just want to make some of you aware of it. Cutting bonuses or extra pay is one thing, but cutting off someone's supplement indicates that cruel people are trying to harm the innocents from receiving their whole pay. And I have seen the headline attacks against Chairman Smith along those lines in the past. Anyways, thanks for your time and service to our county.
Thank you, sir. Next individual on the list, Derek Dyson.
Afternoon. My name is Derek Dyson. I live at 3122 White Hill Road. I'm currently Assistant Chief with Tramway Fire Department, but I'm here on behalf of myself today and other concerned citizens and county volunteers concerning the flat tax and fund balances that was announced by the county manager on May 3rd, 2023 at the Fire Advisory Board meeting. Fund balances are over collections that are collected in each department's service district, and is money that should remain in those districts because that money came from the citizens of that community. Not to be put into a county fund pool that a department would have to request an emergency fund for an unforeseen situation. These decisions are very unprofessional and disrespectful to the county departments and volunteer members of the county, for there has been zero discussion at the county fire chiefs meetings or with department board of directors. The only decision that I'm aware of in the past was at some fire advisory board meetings, the question was asked how the departments felt about flat tax. And the answer was, if it was handled in the correct way, it may be voted on. But this by no means has been handled in the correct way. I would hope that there will not be any personal agendas tied to this. For what is done in the dark will come to light. I understand how flat tax works, and this may help lower the taxes for the majority in the beginning, but it is not possible for equal service throughout the county service districts. Myself, along with others, feel there's too many unknowns and unanswered questions at this time. I request this decision be tabled for a minimum of 1 year to iron the kinks out and not to have unprofessionally winging it for the citizens of the county. So some questions for y'all to think about. What happens if some of these industrial businesses that their taxes go up on decide to inquire with the city and get an incentive? What would that then happen to the flat tax rate? Another question, are we heading towards the Lee County Fire Department? It seems that way. What do you think, how do you think the volunteers of this county would appreciate that? All the pride and ownership and history that started from these county volunteers members in 1953 would be gone. Are you prepared for the volunteers not to answer the call? Are there future outlays for having to hire full-time county firefighters to make the difference up for this? This again would raise the county tax rate. Thank you for your time. I hope y'all make good decisions, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Next individual, Kenneth Gilstrap.
Hello, Kenneth Gilstrap, live at 1450 Bailey Thomas Road here in Sanford. I'm the president of Tramway Fire Department Board, have been for the past 10 years. The whole time I've been involved with the board, we've had an easy process for the budget. We've known what to expect. This year, we started out our budget process the same way we've always done. When we got to the FAB meeting to have our budgets discussed and approved, we were hit with the idea, I won't say idea, but we were told that we were going to a flat tax rate. This information was not given to us before preparing our budgets. None of us had any idea this was coming. I'm not saying that our board or any other fire district or service district is opposed to a flat tax. The problem is that this process has not been talked about, discussed with those that have interest in the flat tax. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. Socialism looks great on paper. It doesn't work. You put into place a flat tax, you take away the service district's accountability to their districts for their fire rates. You have one department that's been able to keep theirs low. They have a higher value in their district, therefore they can keep that rate low to get more money. We understand that. We understand that some districts have a higher tax rate because there's less value in that district. But every department has been accountable to their district for that rate. You go to a flat tax rate, what's to keep one department from just dramatically increasing their budget? Where are the checks and balances? There's rumors that this is just the start to go to a county fire department. There's rumors of personal agendas. Starting out this process with these rumors and these unforeseens is unacceptable, not only to the fire departments, but to the citizens of the county. This should be an open forum where all parties that have interest in it is discussed. Like the other people have said, we've been asked about flat tax. None of us have disagreed if handled correctly. But being thrown in our face saying this is how it's going to be with no discussion is wrong. Just for lack of a better word, it's wrong. We want fair, equitable taxes for everyone in the county. We get that. But where's the plan? We're not here to wing it. We don't wing our budgets. We don't wing when we go to fire calls. So I'm asking you as county commissioners to hold off on this process, implementing the flat tax for at least a year so we can have all parties involved discuss and set a definite plan for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Chad Deal.
Chad Deal, 2448 Hickory House Road, Sanford. I am currently the fire chief at Tramway Fire Department. And I don't have a sheet of paper. I'm gonna shoot from the hip, just kind of like this fire tax proposal's being done. So we come to you to discuss, and just like y'all do on many occasions, y'all talk about things and plan things, but we don't see a plan for this fire tax. How can you do something without a plan? We can't, because we have to plan. We want to make 5-year plans, but sometimes things change, and that plan has to change. I know y'all discussed the food trailers a lot. That wasn't decided in one meeting. How can you decide the flat tax rate in one meeting tonight? If we had a plan to go off of, we might know where the fire departments are going to go. Again, we're not against the flat tax rate. If it was handled right, everybody would probably say, I'm ready for it. But I don't think it's been proposed right, so How are we supposed to plan for the future? I don't know. So that's what I've got to say. Thank you very much. Thank you for what you do. I know y'all do a lot. You meet twice a month just like we do. It's time and commitment. That's what we're given, is time and commitment. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Next on the list, John Cagle.
John Cagle, 2204 Dunbar Drive. I'm here to talk about the flat fire tax. I'm a deputy chief, vice president, and treasurer of the board at Lemon Springs Fire Department. The flat fire tax was presented last minute with no discussion, no plans. The plan for a flat tax is something that should have been discussed and planned well before the budgets were due. It's completely unfair to the departments in this county to push this out at a hearing that was just meant to answer questions about our budgets that we have already prepared. Firefighters in this county have volunteered a lot of time over the years and have saved this county millions over the years by volunteering. And the least we deserve is a little bit of discussion about what's going on with the tax money in our district that we have been taking care of so long. Fire departments were told that a flat fire tax would provide equal service throughout the county. Equality in service should mean that all departments are staffed the same as well as equipped the same. This key point has yet to be explained to the departments as to how the increase in budgets over the next few years to provide the same level of service will be achievable while maintaining a tax rate that is fair to the citizens in the community. Also, how districts with a third of the money as other districts can provide the same service and staffing. The proposed budgets from fire districts for 23 and 24 will not be supported by the proposed flat tax of 0.096 cents. To bring everyone to that proposed tax rate from where they were, higher or lower, with the current budgets that are proposed, would put the county at a deficit. This deficit will supposedly be covered by fund balances that were already paid into each fire district by the taxpayers in that district, money that's not to be shared across. Lemon Springs taxpayers didn't pay that money to support Northview Fire Department, as an example. We've worked really hard to keep the fire tax rate low in our district and to provide a good service. And we would at least like to know what the plan is to keep it that way in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Madam Clerk, I just want you to know that we definitely appreciate, and I'd ask that you enter it into the record, we definitely appreciate the service of our EMS, our fire departments, both the city as well as our volunteer fire departments, and we heard what you said. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is old business, approve the lease for the spec building number 3. Madam Commissioner.
Jimmy Randolph. Yeah.
Mr. Randolph.
Hi.
And for the record, real fast, the lease is at your table.
Yes, and it's less about the lease because that's kind of already in place. It's more about, because now we're taking over the payment, and then do you have an update on prospects to fill the spec building?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the opportunity to brief you on that. I'll be happy to provide kind of a high-level briefing right now in open session, and of course, with your invitation at any time in closed session, talking a little more detail.
Oh, for sure.
But as we discussed several months ago, the developers of CCEP had a letter of intent from an end user that was put in place in November, and they expected in good faith to pursue that and have a tenant in the building on the basis of that letter of intent. The prospect, again, I won't name the name tonight, but that prospect actually brought on a new investor that indicated to them that the shell building would actually not be a large enough facility for what their business plans were. And they, under that agreement, exercised their option not to lease the Shell building as it stood. And that left us in a situation in late January, early February of not having an end user that we anticipated. The building was completed to Shell condition in late November. And under the MOU at that point, we are under an obligation to lease that for a period of up to 2 years. We have had very significant activity on that building. And in fact, last week we showed the building to another prospect, and I learned Thursday night, we showed it early in the week last week, and I learned Thursday night that we have made a shorter list for that particular company. They've asked for the CAD drawings for the building, thinking about their ability to upfit it for their particular needs. At this point, we have 5 active projects that have done a site visit at that site, at the Shell building, that still haven't made a decision about their final location. We've submitted twice in the last 7 days that building as well. So we're seeing a lot of activity because we do have product. Just for your reference, from that visit early last week, they saw our building as well as 5 other buildings in that one day. They stayed overnight and saw 2 more buildings the following morning. So there is inventory out there competing with us, but not only do we have a ready Shell building, we also have workforce, and we have quality of place, and we have a supportive government like as represented here tonight, all of which are big check marks, on our side of the ledger. We have a great relationship with our partners at the state level, and those companies that approach the state with an interest in a property like we have in the Shell building, continue to choose us among their itinerary when they're looking in the state. So at Saga, we feel very good about the prospects of landing a project very soon there. I hesitate to commit to a specific time frame, but would just assure you that we do have a lot of good activity there. We continue to advertise through not just our relationships with commercial brokers and the partners at EDP&C, but also in all of the major corporate real estate publications, those that are the advertising locations of choice for the major corporate real estate companies and the major commercial brokerages. We will be featured in the upcoming edition of Business Facilities Magazine by the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, which has 14 counties in its membership. They are going to feature our building as their ready property. It's about a $12,000 to $15,000 advertising spend for them, and they've chosen to feature our building because it is such a quality building. Finally, the thing we have working for us is our existing industry community and the fact that they are thriving and they are doing extremely well even in a up and down economy here in Sanford and Lee County. And that sort of proof in the pudding, if you will, particularly with folks that have chosen to locate in the park, continues to help us on the EV front and the life sciences front, which are the 2 sectors that we are getting the most project activity in right now. So I would say that we are in a very good position continuing to show that building, and I appreciate the opportunity to have some control over who that end user is. We field a lot of calls from commercial realtors and commercial brokers that are looking for warehouse space or that are looking for perhaps a distribution center. And the rationale behind this agreement was that we would have more control if we agreed to lease the building once it was substantially complete if we didn't have an end user, because we could hold out for more jobs and more capital investment and have a little more control over who that end user was. With the activity we're seeing right now, particularly in life sciences and EV manufacturing, I like our chances for landing a substantial capital investment similar to those first 2 buildings that were life sciences projects, as well as higher paying and larger quantities of jobs. So I appreciate the commitment that the county has made, as well as the city, to give us at Saga an opportunity to exercise a little more control over the process through this lease. And I look forward to continuing to show it with regular frequency. We also have had 2 inquiries from existing industry in the community about the building. And again, without naming names here, the chair is a member of our executive committee, and we will be sharing a thorough update on all active projects as well as the marketing plan for CCEP in Thursday's meeting. We sent that agenda out today. And again, I'm happy to appear in closed session at any time and give you as much detail as you like about the projects that we're working.
I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Sharp, questions?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Reeves?
Did I understand you to say that you got a letter of intent signed in November, and now they're saying it's not large enough for what they want?
They had a letter of intent that was valid for a 2-month period of due diligence for them to move forward with the project. And it was speaking fairly broadly, it was a life sciences service provider.
I just want to
Yes,
know,
sir.
when did they decide it wasn't large enough for them? At what point?
Over the course of that due diligence.
That 2 months?
That's right, during that 2-month period of due diligence.
That's strange. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you. No questions.
Commissioner Carver?
No question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next item under the purview of new business, Sand Hill Center presentation.
You have to vote on it? We need to approve that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Vote on the lease.
I'm sorry, we got to vote on the lease. I was flying right along, sorry. All right, do I have a motion to approve the lease as presented?
In the tournament agreement, which is the second document that just essentially says that if they fail, if like Lee County Growth fails, that we would be responsible for paying the bank for the 24 months. It was on the agenda.
Any other questions of the attorney? All those, who made the motion?
You haven't got one yet.
That's, do I have a motion to approve the lease for the spec building number 3?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made to approve the lease for spec building number 3. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we can move along to new business. I apologize. And we have the Sand Hill Center presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Victoria Witt. I'm the CEO of Sand Hill Center. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. My official reason for coming before you is to present the Sand Hill Center County General Budget request for the coming year. Before I do that, however, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the honor you bestowed on me tonight. As Commissioner Smith has told you, after 43 years at Sand Hill Center, I have decided to retire. After reading or hearing the resolution, I'm even tireder now than I was before I got here. But thank you once again for all the support that you have given me personally over the years. I have enjoyed working with all of the commissioners and all of the county staff. As I said, I've been at Sand Hills for 43 years. 13 of those were as the CEO, and 25 of those 43 were involved in direct service delivery. So I think to sum up what I'd like to say about my career is community. It's very important to maintain community relations. It's very important for the community to remain engaged in behavioral health, and I would encourage you to continue your involvement. There is a current House Senate Bill 425 that is working its way through the legislature now that's Commissioner Smith and your county manager are aware of. We talked about it last week, and it is an attempt to take some of the responsibility and authority away from counties and give to the state. So I would encourage you to take a look at that, and I'll be happy to go over that with you in more detail, because once again, I do believe community is what behavioral health needs to be all about. So the reason I'm here tonight is to present the county general funding request. The board met on March the 14th, and I'll remind you that Lee County has appointed Commissioner Smith to the Sand Hill Center Board and Walter Ferguson. Both of them attend religiously. They not only attend the meetings, but they also, Walter chairs the Client Rights Committee, and Commissioner Smith serves on the HR Committee. So Lee County is well represented. The board made the decision for the 19th year in a row not to request any additional funding from any of our 11 counties. So that means I'm here tonight to request the same amount that we have requested all of these years, and that's $240,000. That funding stays right here in Lee County to support services for folks who do not have Medicare, Medicaid, or third-party reimbursement. So it covers indigent care for folks with behavioral health problems. And I'll remind you that the reason we've been able to hold the line, so to speak, on county funding requests is we now manage Medicaid funding, and our management of Medicaid funding has allowed for us not only to make sure that the needs of the folks are met in our region, but also to have some reinvestment projects, many of which we have here in Lee County. So when you come to your budget process, I hope you will consider this request of $240,000 for Sand Hill Center. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I know you have a long meeting tonight, so I'm not going to go over all the materials that are in your packet. You have our newsletters. You have some other county-specific information that we actually went over during the breakfast last week, but I'll be glad to answer any questions. And just lastly say that Anthony Ward, who is the Deputy Director at Sand Hill Center, was appointed by the board to be the new CEO effective July 1st. Anthony has been the Deputy Director for 11 years. Prior to that, he was the CEO of the Guilford Center, which was the behavioral health entity up there prior to merger with Sand Hills. But I'll stop there, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about my request or any other information.
Questions for Victoria. Commissioner Carver.
One question doesn't go directly to the $240,000, but at the breakfast, we mentioned the behavioral health urgent care clinic that's a pilot right now, and I've forgotten, is it Randolph County?
Rockingham County.
What is it that we need to do in order to bring attention to the fact that we really need a similar center?
Well, we actually talked about that with Commissioner Smith at the board meeting the other night. And I think what would be important at this point would be some type of coming together of a group here in Lee County with Sand Hill Center. Anthony Ward would be more than a good person to engage in that conversation because he has been involved in the discussion with Rockingham County. So I think a meeting and then some proposal ideas about that. And Commissioner Smith, I know you had said something about perhaps making it more of a multi-county proposal.
Yes, I've reached out to Harnett County more and Hope County, proposing to get together to work out details, because we also have, as collective counties, we also have opioid settlement funds that are coming toward us that could possibly help. But yes, we're working that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick.
You mentioned a Senate bill. What was that number again?
It's 425.
425.
And it's, and I don't want to take too much time.
I have actually, Victoria, I have handouts that I'll give them at Commissioner comments.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Commissioner Connect.
I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck.
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves.
I'm good.
Commissioner Sharp.
No questions, but I just want to say thank you for your service. 40-some years is a long time, and we appreciate it here in Lee County.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, and please drive safely.
I'll stay a while.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is the Lee County Board of Education budget presentation. Madam Chair, first, before you get started, I do want to say very much, I appreciate the efforts that your board is carrying forward in these trying times. I want to say this is the first time that we've had in my tenure on the board. I don't know if Commissioner Reeves can attest to that, but this is the first time we've had a board chair present a budget request to this board. So we do appreciate that.
Thank you. The first thing I want to do is recognize the people who are here from Lee County Schools. Would you mind standing, please? Ladati, Alan, Eric. This is history in the making. Y'all can sit down now. Sorry.
Thank you.
I just want y'all to know, when we do stuff, we do it as a team. We all work together. This is the first time in history in Lee County Schools where each committee has defined roles and responsibilities and what they're accountable for. So today, it's my honor and privilege to announce that you will now have our Finance Committee Chair will be coming to provide the presentation, and I will talk to you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, and thank you, Board, for giving us the opportunity to come and present to you guys tonight. So I know you've had the slides for a couple days now since we provided them, so I'll do my best to be somewhat brief, but provide the highlights that I think are important for you guys to have to make your decision about the budget. So on the agenda, just real quick, we're going to talk about school system funding breakdown. In total, we're going to talk about local funding breakdown, the 2023-24 budget request, the capital budget request and breakdown, the local supplement review. We've got an item for bus drivers, which is an attendance bonus review. And then we're going to talk about the school board actions for performance, and then we can take any questions. And honestly, throughout this presentation, if you've got anything that needs some clarification, feel free. Otherwise, we can take questions at the end. All right, so the first slide, this one is mostly just kind of a for your information as you guys go through and look at the county budget. So the table you have on the left, the chart rather, is a breakdown for school system expenditures, and this is at state, federal, and local level. So this is just to give you an idea of where the school system pulls funds from those three categories. And then on the right-hand side, that is taking that total funding per student and breaking that into, just breaking it into buckets, right? So you've got salaries, employee benefits, supplies and materials, several different categories. So again, this is just kind of FYI, so you can see at a high level where the school system spends our money. On the next slide, this is, again, just a similar breakdown to that the last chart that you saw, but this is just with local funding only. So again, I'll leave this kind of at an FYI for you guys to review on your own. But this is just a breakdown of the money that you guys, as a local entity, provide the school system and where that money is spent. All right, so with that, I guess from where I'm standing, this is really hard to see, so apologize for that. But this is our 2023-24 budget request. So the current expense budget, which is that total CE budget, represents in total represents a 14% increase over 2022-23's budget. However, I would direct you to the chart on the bottom left if you're looking. So the base budget there at $19.6 million. That corresponds with the chart on the right, the CE allocation. You'll see that essentially that's what we're calling the base budget, right? So that's our general funding. That has remained unchanged from the 22-23 budget that was provided by the commissioners. The two changes that make up that 14% increase for this year are a one-time supplement boost for local inflation, and then a bus driver attendance bonus to aid with route filling. And I will get into both of those in more detail in the coming slides. All right, so before we get to those details, I wanted to go through the capital request briefly. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you've got the list of requests from our various schools throughout the county. And in general, these include things like some routine maintenance. There's some roof projects in there, some hot water heaters, things like that. There are security upgrades, and then there are general facility and some field upgrades and repairs. On top of that, at the bottom right of that list, there is a special allocation request for $600,000 to demolish the old Jonesboro School out across from the new Walmart. So I did want to note here that I think everybody's probably aware there has been a fire at that facility that did some damage. We do not have insurance adjustments. Not sure at this point how much money is going to come from that, so I did not alter that original request for the $600,000. And then also noted that the future use of that site is still to be determined. So there's several options as far as, potential school sites or maintenance facilities. Might be able to sell that property, but at any rate, that is all still to be determined. And basically this building needs to be removed before anything is decided. All right, so the next slides I'm going to go through pretty quickly. So this first one's all words. This is related to those capital requests. So there's some specifics here that just talk through the why for some of those projects. So again, I'll leave you to that to review. And then we've just got some photos of some of these things as well. So this is the Sandley Middle School gym floor and just shows some of the wear, which is the reason for the redo there. An old hot water heater setup at Southern Lee. And then we've got some pretty tired looking scoreboards out at Wesley. These are East and Wesley middle bleachers that need to be replaced, both for wear and some safety concerns that was discussed at the last school board meeting. And then finally, a photo of soccer goals and field goal uprights at those middle schools, again, that we have a request in there to be replaced. So with that, that kind of ends the capital part of the presentation. So now I want to talk about, everybody heard the word supplement, so let's talk about that a bit. Again, this is very tiny from where I'm standing, so I apologize for the folks looking at this. But basically just want to talk about the impacts of state action that could be coming our way. So I think everybody in front of me is probably aware that there are several budget proposals at the state level. So this first one that I put together was, I believe, Governor Cooper's proposal for the 2023-24 budget at the state level, which included a 12% certified salary increase and an 8% classified increase that would be broken down over 2 years. So half the first year, half the second year is my understanding. So the impact of that increase, were it to be approved, would be approximately $500,000 that the local supplement would have to pick up due to those salary increases from the state, right? So that is, again, over 2 years. So if we're talking the 2023-24 budget, it would be half of that figure. So approximately $250,000 that would have to come out of the school budget to increase those local supplements as a result of state increases. All right, so I do want to highlight that that state action is uncertain at this time, as I'm sure everybody knows. I think there's been either a committee level or perhaps a House level proposal that's a bit different from the governor's. So the key here on this slide is that the action at this point from the state is unknown. All right. So I also wanted to highlight at the bottom that the current board is working with our administration on a plan to potentially revamp our local supplement structure. So today it is a percentage of base salary. So there's different percentages for classified and certified staff, but it is purely a percentage of their base salary. So that leaves us open a bit to this unpredictability from the state. So the things that we're looking at and we had hoped to bring to you this year, but it's going to take more time, is a change in that to either a fully fixed rate supplement or perhaps a percentage plus a fixed rate. And I provided a couple examples. Again, they're hard to see on the slide, but at the top right, you've got Chatham County Schools, which does that. There's a large lump sum that they provide and then a small percentage of base salary as you move through their tiers. And then at the bottom right is Harnett County, which does a fully fixed supplement system. So again, I think the opportunity there is to target employee retention through how we set those tiers and the values in each tier. And then more predictability in the budgeting. So if we move away from a fully percent of salary system, we would be less susceptible to these state changes, right? If our structure is either fixed or mostly fixed. So that's just a benefit that we see. But again, with that, we believe we need more time to make sure that we iron out any kinks and cross all the T's and dot the I's with that, because we don't want to leave anybody in a position that we're cutting somebody's pay inadvertently or providing any unintended consequences. So again, more time to review that, and hopefully we'll be back next year with that proposal. So again, on supplement, we had a good teacher pay analysis that was provided by our board chair at a previous meeting, and I just wanted to highlight this. So we do have it's not just financial, it's a complete performance audit that our board has approved of our school system. Part of that includes the pay structures. And among our peer group for that audit, Lee County actually has the lowest median teacher pay within that peer group. Now, I'm not here to weaponize that fact and ask you for more money based on that, but I just want to point out that that is a fact right now. And there are several factors that contribute to that. So since teachers are paid 100% by years of service, average seniority goes into that calculation. Degree levels affect teacher pay, so that also is affected. And then local supplements obviously roll into that total pay for our teachers. So I just want to highlight that to say that this performance audit that we're having completed will review all of those items and then present to us a real picture of where we stand as a county. So they'll take things into account, I believe, as far as local cost of living and things like that, and not just throw a blanket number without talking about the detail and the why part of it. All right, so the burning platform. So why are we here asking for more money? So a first-year teacher in Lee County, which is the first line on the slide, a first-year teacher, so with just a 4-year degree with, so taxes taken out and just basic benefits, makes approximately $28,000 annually. So again, that's net pay. Since we're talking about new teachers, I added a breakdown here of the years of service, right? So there's a pie chart on the right, and in the 0 to 5 years of experience bucket, it's 31% of our teachers. So about a third of our teachers are on the low end of the state pay scale just due to their years of service. Looking at local rents across the county, so there's been a lot of increases the last couple years. I did try to go through and find a bit of history, which was kind of hard to find actually, but currently speaking, one-bedroom apartments run at a rate of about $800 to $1,250 a month, which is up at least $100 from last year. So it's a pretty significant increase as we've been seeing locally. But if you take an average of that, so about $1,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, we're asking a beginning teacher making $28,000 net annually to spend 43% of their annual take-home pay on their apartment. And I think anybody here that's done a home budget knows that that's never going to work, because you have other bills that go with that. 43% for housing is not a good number. So then along with that, I think everybody in this room is probably also aware that there has been a local property value reassessment this year. My understanding is that the average increase of that was approximately 45%, which means that there will be a significant revenue increase in the county that would be able to help support this request that we're making today. So I'm not aware of what is happening with tax rates or anything like that this year, but just, as a property owner, I'm aware that there was a big value adjustment that will come with a tax increase associated. So again, with this, I do want to highlight that the basis for this request, so we're not considering our neighboring counties, so we're not here to ask you to compete with Wake County or Chatham County or any of these other local counties. We're talking about local inflation and a way to help our teachers deal with that. All right, so the actual request here for the supplement. So The bottom line is we are proposing to maintain the existing supplement structure that we have today and add a $1,200, so this would be for the year, so call it $100 per month, right? So I talked on the last slide about $100 or more is what we've seen for local rent increases at apartments, so we're talking about $100 a month to help provide some relief there. That does exclude senior staff and comes in at a total of approximately $2.1 million. The more exact figures are in the chart on the right-hand side. So I do want to highlight that this is a one-time request. So I'm not asking, we are not asking for a permanent percentage increase to the local supplement. We're asking for this, this one-time increase to help, I'm calling this a supplement bridge, right? So it's going to give us a year as a board to do a few things. So we can go through that new supplement schedule that I talked a little bit about earlier and determine what a permanent plan would be going forward. We can get through this state uncertainty and see what kind of increases will come down from the state and give us a year to get through those, understand what's happening, and then see where we land on the teacher pay discussion after that. And then also to review those performance audit results. So that performance audit does touch a lot of areas, including, including pay and then others. And I think we're going to get a lot of good information as a board to be able to go through and kind of go through our fiscal house, right, and make sure that a budget that we bring you next year, honestly, is more detailed than what I'm presenting to you right now. So the next piece that we're asking for an increase for is a bus driver attendance bonus adjustment. So our current state with this bonus, and what this bonus does is, so most of our bus drivers are actually teacher assistants and other certified employees. When those folks drive their bus routes every day of the month, they receive a monthly bonus for the days of the month, right? So you'll see here it says $2 a day or $40 a month. That amount varies based on the number of days that are driven per month, right? So there's different number of school days. So it's kind of a small number. And then I did highlight that unfilled routes fall typically on our assistant principals to manage daily. So those guys have text chats and all those things to try to rush through and fill routes to make sure everybody's picked up and brought to school. So the proposal that we're asking for is to up that amount to $10 a day or $200 a month. And the goal there is to just increase the route fill rates. And to be honest with you, at the end of the day, we've had some discussions. We would really like to decouple those positions, the teacher assistant and bus driver, because today it's a requirement. If you're going to be hired as a teacher assistant, you have to drive a bus. So if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be hired. So that is the end goal. I'm not going to suggest that this money will do that, but the hope is that by increasing the incentive to drive a bus, that we'll get some people off the bench that want to do that because it puts more money in their pocket, right? So I think with the bus driver discussion in general, so there's a lot of responsibility that comes with driving a bus, right? So I don't know, I just think the increase in pay for somebody that shows up and does that every day, I guess my personal opinion is it's just the right thing to do because it's a huge responsibility. And then I guess further, just to talk to what's on the chart on the top right of the slide. So that is actually the percentage of our drivers that receive the bonus on each month of this current school year. So you can kind of see how that tracks over time. And the board has requested of the central office that if this is approved, if we increase this bonus, that we would like to continue to track that as well as bus driver fill rates just to verify that that we get the result that we're looking for with the extra money that we are requesting. All right, so with that, this slide is just to talk a bit about board action for performance increase at schools, right? So I know in the past, commissioners have questioned some of the increase requests just based on the system, the school system performance as a whole. So when we're talking test scores and things, so we don't have a rosy picture to paint you for test score increases. This new board's been together for about 5 months. So we wanted to talk a bit about the actions that we're taking and then coming to you requesting this money. So I'm going to read a statement and actually turn it over to the board chair since she's kind of driving this direction for us. But This statement was read at our school board meeting and specifically agreed upon to make sure that everybody was in agreement. So all 7 board members agree that the board recognizes that a pay increase is not a singular solution to teacher or employee retention. The board further recognizes that Lee County taxpayers can't be reasonably expected to pay or to fill a pay gap created by state inaction. So below is a list of actions taken and/or planned since December 2022 to drive toward improvements. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd ask you to come present this one.
I believe this county has asked for transparency. That means you're going to get more than you kind of bargained for. There's an old saying that says a new broom sweeps clean, but the old broom knows where the corners are at. In the last few months, we realized we're going to need a bigger broom. In Lee County, we had our performance audit. We've been working on that very hard. I can honestly tell you I have never seen a board work as hard and together as long as this group has day in and day out. The budget that you got before you today was actually from multiple board members. We even have Jamie Ladotti here as well. I think they've met late at night in trying to go through plans. We're very realistic on what we look at. There's things people don't want to admit or they're not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, we like our research. For instance, you know, a voucher is about to come out called Choose Your School, Choose Your Future. What does that mean for Lee County? There's a high probability, as it was listed. There's 6 counties, Alexander, Hartford, Hoke, Lee, McDowell, and Onslow. We can see a 4% decrease in the total state funding for K-12 public schools. We're looking at that. We're looking at central office. We're going through central office, and yes, we're going through everything. We're starting from the top, and we're going down. Performance auditors has shown us multiple things we didn't even know existed. I did not know that a superintendent could write a $50,000 contract for something without the board ever being notified. Those days are over, ladies and gentlemen. We love the children in this county. We love our school system. We believe in our school system. We have a superintendent now, Dawson Bach, which you know is our interim. I told him I don't call him that, just like I don't call somebody a stepfather or a stepbrother and sister. We are a family. This community is a family. And if you look at our school system today, from the outside looking in, it looks like we're dysfunctional. I'm here to say the fun is about to begin. So what have we done differently as the board? These are the things we've already started doing. We stood up for our children. We stood up for our teachers. By the way, last week was Teachers Appreciation Week. I think they deserve much more than that. We've got them being counselors. We've got them being police officers. We're having to be social workers to the children. And that is where we are at today. So we changed the calendar. Lots of counties spoke about doing it. Then I got a phone call and found out we're one of the few counties that actually made that decision and is moving forward. We took that risk, but we know this will help our children. We know this, just like we know this bonus or the supplements that we're asking for. It's only 1 year, because next year you will have it laid out, and you're going to get it whether you like it or not, the good and the bad, because we know that transparency and sunshine is the best disinfectant that this county can see. We went ahead and we did management oversight. What did we do before? We sat with the superintendent and we talked to him maybe once a year. And I know that Cameron remembers when he was on the board. You wait to that time till you decide if you're going to extend a contract or if you want to continue to have their services. We don't do that. Our board came together as a whole and came up with an evaluation tool that we can meet with the superintendent on a quarterly basis. There should be a strategic plan. Lee County Schools does not have a strategic plan. They have not had a strategic plan for 10 years. That should shock everyone in this room. We plan to have this plan forward, and we will have benchmarks, and we will have a way to measure that growth and that performance every day moving forward. We've also enhanced the financial oversight of our school system. You're going to hear the negative aspects at it. You're going to hear DPIs came and you've had these significant findings. You've had 2 in the last 5 years, or they're questioning things that's done. We have one of the best financial officers in all of the public school system, in my humble opinion. What they need is the ability to not be micromanaged and allow them to be in their lane. That's the goal we plan to move forward with. We now have a monthly update, a summary update that comes before the board. We've updated our policies for the Parental Bill of Rights. The majority of those policies were already in our policies. This one policy puts it all in one spot, what parents know. You have the right to know what's going on in your classroom. You have the right to know what they're being taught. And you have multiple rights in reference to how far you would like for the school system to assist them in that education process. We also did monetary changes. They did things like non-monetary changes to bring in the teachers. We're trying to recruit teachers and get them here in our county. And I know that's difficult. It's difficult all across the state of North Carolina. But there will be a day and time that teachers are going to say, I want to go to Lee County because Lee County is the best in the state of North Carolina. I truly believe this. I know there's a lot of risk out there, and people seem to think that we may be going pretty far as making changes and, like I said, needing a new broom. But the truth is, I know, because I'm in the classrooms. I see the teachers, I see the students, we hear the parents, and regardless of what you do here today, no matter what your decision is on that budget, I can assure you this, that we have over 1,000 employees, and every one of them will get out of bed tomorrow morning, put their boots on the ground, and they will move forward and remain dedicated to the children of Lee County. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that concludes our formal presentation. So with that, happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Financial Chairman Rommel.
Sir.
Questions for either Chairman Rommel or Chairman Womack? Commissioner Sharp?
Yeah, well, I appreciate what you guys are trying to do to get teachers money, and, you know, and we've done the same. I've been on here 6 years, and over the last 6 years, I think we've only got 1% on supplement increase. But if I'm on here another 6, I'll still be trying to get another supplement increase for the teachers. But, okay, here's where I'm confused. Okay, back in the fall, you came before us and told us, you urged us not to give the teachers any money. Do you remember that?
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
Or to characterize it, help me understand.
Right, yeah. So when I came before the commissioners last year, the understanding I had as a parent was that the budget was going to be presented with a supplement increase request is simply as a way to compete with Wake and Chatham and neighboring counties. I don't think it's fair to ask Lee County taxpayers to compete with a county whose cost of living is significantly higher. And I thought that the commissioners should ask questions and at least understand if that was the goal of the supplement increase, was to compete with Wake County, to get some numbers behind how that would happen, right? So, and I think that's part of the reason why I was so interested in helping to come present our budget this year, because I think this is a good business case and explains why we're asking for the money and what exactly we think it'll do.
Well, from what I've heard from this board only wants to give a supplement increase based on performance.
Sure.
Does the Board of Education feel the same way?
That's a hard question to answer. So, I mean, as it is today with the performance of the school system, again, I kind of touched on the things we're doing as a board that I think we're going to drive that improvement. However, the request that we're asking for tonight, I mean, this one to me is simply, again, a local, it's a matter of local inflation, really. And I think, you know, these apartment prices and the home values and stuff that I talked about, I think a lot of that's driven by, obviously, the growth in our county. And I think that growth is a direct result of decisions made by the Board of Commissioners. So I kind of feel like it's your responsibility, in part, to step up to the plate and help compensate, you know, our local employees who are paid in part with local funds to help manage that increase in cost of living.
Mm-hmm. One more thing. So has the teachers and staff been involved with y'all's negotiations or your plan about this 1,200, or is this just strictly the what?
This was really the finance committee and the superintendent mostly that talked about this. So at our budget working session, the superintendent did bring a request for a 1% supplement increase for certified, and I think 2% for classified, if I've got that right. And again, I wasn't comfortable bringing that proposal to the commissioners this year, and that's why the request was made to do this one-time supplement that we brought to you.
And I'm not trying to manage your board, but I just want you to know.
That's okay, I'd like to respond.
Hold up, man, I'm still talking.
You asked a question.
But I was asking him, and then I was given.
Well, you said as the board, I stand before you as the chairman of the board, I'm a spokesperson for the board. You asked if that's what the board felt.
Well, he was trying to
The
ask you.
question was, if you asked if that's what the board felt like, the increase should be based on the performance of our students. The reality is, all the studies can show you that even with increased pay, does not say that you would definitely have increased performance with our students. What I'm looking at is in our local community, when you go to the gas station and the teacher is behind the register on the weekend. And to talk to this board member by something he said before he got on this board, I believe is completely inappropriate. He's put the research in, he's put the work in. How this board feels is this: we know our teachers deserve this. We've watched them, we see them work, we all learn from our mistakes every day serving on the board. If we don't, we shouldn't be up getting out of bed in the morning. If you recall, I spoke against W.B. Wicker School. Now, that's my pride and joy. I love W.B. Wicker School. Looking at the background now, why am I saying this? Is because you're bringing up something from a campaign speech or when he spoke before the county commissioners. I'm speaking on behalf of the board when I tell you that without a doubt, we have not even looked into performance measures on how to increase teacher supplements until we have all this under control. I explained earlier that we have new boards. We've been on 5 or 6 months. We've been as transparent as we possibly can be. I don't think that he's changing his mind. I believe that he's trying to do what is best for our teachers. Did you have any further questions?
Well, now that you say, yeah, I believe I do.
Go ahead.
So speaking of W.B. Wicker, when I was going about, I remember you and your husband talking about all the
There
crime.
you go
and
again,
didn't
Mr.
want it.
With
You
all
didn't-
due
you didn't
respect,
want the school.
Chair,
You didn't want the
please
school.
take control of your board.
W.B. Wicker, you didn't want
We
the
are
school.
not here to discuss anything in the past. Our children, we are trying to move forward.
Okay. Can we get some order, please? Please, we don't need to discuss the past. Let's focus on the future. That's what we're here doing. Any other questions,
Well,
Commissioner
if you
Sharp?
cared about the teachers, you'd give them, you'd be asking for a 1% increase or more.
You're entitled to your opinion during your public comments. Is there any other questions for the Board of Education? We
Thank you, Mr.
sincerely
Rumble.
appreciate
You were
your
answering my
time.
questions just fine.
I've got one about the $600,000. Have you all made a decision on whether or not you can even build a school down there? And why would you want to build on a dead-end street?
We didn't ask for it.
Yeah, so at this point, Commissioner, it's to be determined what that property would be used for.
Well, why do you want the $600,000 now?
Just because basically there's no use for it as is with the,
Well,
I
then
don't think
make a
it's condemned
decision on
building,
it. If you're not going to build a school and you've got a maintenance facility down there, you can expand that and sell the rest of it.
Sure. I mean, the property value, I assume, would be higher. I'm not a realtor, but with the existing
Well, you don't have
structure
to be, but
removed.
you don't want to spend $600,000 to tear it down when you could sell it, take part of the land and increase your maintenance facility.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I mean, these are all options on the table.
I believe the 600,000 is demolish the building because it is a hazard
I
today.
understand what it is. It's been a hazard. How long has it been vacant? Years, right?
Maintenance has been in there all along, so.
Any building can be subject to destruction by anybody. The point I'm making is, why would I want to spend $600,000 to destroy it before I found out if I could sell it as is?
We can discuss that.
Well, I hope we will before we give $600,000 away.
Any other questions, Commissioner Reeves?
No, sir.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
I just have a couple. Was this something that needed to be, did we find out if it was something that needed to be repeated every year?
The supplement you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
No, so at this point, the proposal is just for the coming year. And again, really is to give us time to understand at the state level what's going to come down, and then to work through that potential proposal for a new supplement structure.
There's a potential.
I'm sorry?
There's a potential for issue coming forward that if we don't follow up with it next year, that we can be held accountable. I think that's what she's referring to, right?
Yes.
In terms of the way you're structuring this, is that if we say next year, well, we're not going to fund it this year, that you can take us to arbitration for it. I'm not saying you're going to. I mean, just that's your question. That's all.
So I'm not aware, I see Ms. Minter shaking her head, yes, I'm not aware of that. I thought the way that this request was structured as specifically a one-year request, that it would not necessarily be I guess, base budget that would roll into that.
If I can, County Manager and County Attorney, if you wish to comment, please. I know we've discussed this.
It's our understanding that once we add it to the current expense, that without an agreement with you that cannot be in writing, it's our understanding from school government that it would become part of the regular current expense.
Then we actually have a conflict, I believe, with your interpretation and school lawyer's interpretation. For instance, our schools we used the COVID dollars as well, and we did a one-time supplement. And this not being something that was sustaining, so we would probably actually we definitely would have to get with our own school board attorney, because as a one-time supplement, that's not something that you continue to do. I suspect that we'll be able to find that anyway as we move forward, as we dig further into the budget and find the loopholes and the contracts and the things that's out there. I think that will make a huge difference. But when we went through our budget workshop, we went through 2 days of workshops and additional days as well. And we can absolutely get with our attorney, but it was our interpretation that this is not one of those where once you make this, that the budget stays the same. For instance, this year, whatever you gave us last year, by law, you know that's what you have to give us this year as well. But that was not one of those things.
Commissioner Connect, any further questions?
I just had one more, sorry. On the bus driver bonus, do they get paid it daily, or is it like a monthly stipend?
So it is paid out monthly.
Okay.
So basically, a bus driver that hits all their routes for the whole month is paid that daily amount as a,
However many
as a
accumulated?
one-time.
And that's at the
At the end of the
bonus
month.
tax rate, the 22%, like it's on the higher? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Connect?
Just tell me if I'm wrong. Am I correct in that the state started supplying some assistance with the supplements? And if so, how much did you get for last year? And what is the proposing that the state is proposing for this year?
Can I call in my CFO for that?
No.
I'm not sure of the details.
Of course.
We received $1.7 million this past year in 071, but we have not heard confirmation that we will receive that for next year.
Okay,
And that
so
is
you said 1.7 million
Yes,
last year?
that is correct.
Thank you.
And that was for certified employees only.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovett, questions?
Would you break down how a teacher gets paid? I think some people are hearing supplement and they're hearing state and they're hearing, would you, for the record, kind of break it down, let people know that Lee County doesn't pay all the teacher salaries and
Sure, yeah. So I'll give you my general understanding. I don't have percentages and details, but essentially, the state pays the bulk of a teacher's salary, right? And there's a salary structure that is set up purely by years of service. So 1 through until they retire, there's a salary structure for each year of service. And then there's also additional pay that can be included for advanced degrees beyond a bachelor's degree. I think some other things along with that can build as well, longevity pay. But then essentially, so they have that salary that comes from the state. And then the Lee County supplement, I think as it is today, we're at 10%. So that would be 10% of that salary that Lee County then pays. So if a teacher makes $40,000, Lee County would kick in another $4,000. Did I do that right? Thank you.
I think that help people understand, because they don't understand when it comes to teachers' pay.
Sure.
What our county's kicking in, they're actually paid by the state, and then the county is supplementing them through that. And that's where it comes in, a lot of times you hear teachers are making X amount of dollars in Wake County, but it's the same pay structure throughout the state. It's just the supplement is what makes the difference.
That's correct. Yep.
I don't think a lot of people understand that part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any question, Commissioner Carver?
I'd just like to address some of the things we're talking about here and turn it to some degree to a sense of appreciation for what you all are doing. I think there's some confusion, like you say, about the pay that teachers get, and there's kind of a resident opinion that why doesn't the General Assembly just pay them more? Well, the fact of the matter is they don't. And then we look at teachers as valued people that are providing a service in our county, And a long time ago, we decided that what we needed to do is add a supplement as an encouragement and to support them with some of the tax money that were coming in here. And I think that idea still sustains us. How we go about doing that is something we need to talk about. But the fact of the matter is, giving a supplement is something that seems appropriate for the reality that we have right now and the amount of money that these people that have a lot of responsibility of taking care of our kids deserve. And I'd like to suggest that continuing to look at ways to give them additional funds is not somehow an egregious decision. The other thing is that Commissioner Sharp was talking about the whole idea of whether or not our grades are going up in our schools. And to be honest, that was a point that I tried to make for 2 years, that why should we go ahead and consider increasing supplements when in fact we don't seem to be able to get the attention of the powers that be, so to speak, to really focus on achievement and growth. And I'm speaking as the liaison with the schools. I'm very familiar with them. I attend the meetings, et cetera. And the question was, hey, look, guys, the only lever that we really have is whether or not we give the teachers more money through the supplement. So if you don't improve your performance, why should we go ahead and add more to the supplement? Now we come in with these folks today who've been there 5 months, and we look at them and say, you know, right now we feel the same way. We need to see achievement and growth. The question is whether or not we have trust in the people that we're standing here right now, and whether or not they have performed already and are promising to perform to increase that achievement and growth. It may not happen this year, but they're taking the approach that I think will improve their management. It's a performance audit that identifies the problems that they have. They're interested in going and looking for best practices to improve things. So I think they're on the right track to go ahead and say, well, I don't think I can recognize your effort and give you the money yet until actually you card the improvement. My opinion as the liaison guy who's been watching it is that these people are going to be able to perform and produce the things that they're promising. The only other thing that I would think of is this complication that comes into the issue of whether or not if we give them money this year, we're required to do it forever. I think it would be disingenuous to think that this request is not something that they intend to have sustained, not necessarily as a bridge, but as an increase in their supplement. And I think after 6 years, as you've said, we should consider that, and I think that's reasonable. So, what if we get ourselves in a bind where we've decided to give them some money that's approximately the same as the increase in the supplement they asked for? Somehow I have a feeling that we'd be able to work that out. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an impediment to recognize it today. Okay, my position is somebody who's been very critical of the way we've performed, shall we say, in the school system. That's not to take away from the fact that a lot of good things happen, but achievement and growth is not where it needs to be. I see a path forward, and I believe these people will try to make it happen. They have also spent an awful lot of time very carefully analyzing the budget. They presented it in a way that's commendable. I think we can take it at face value, and as Commissioner Reeves has many times said, let them do their business. Let's go ahead and trust them and consider the increase in a positive way. It may be that we don't want to give them the whole amount. It may be, as we discuss the tax rate, that possibly we might want to dedicate 1 penny or something to that effect to this effort rather than the whole thing. That's still up for discussion. But the concept of why we give the supplement and the fact that these people are important, the fact that we have people standing before us who are trying to make it better are all important aspects to the decision. So thank you for listening to me.
Can I just add something real quick? Do you mind? I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I'm just looking here at your board action performance, your bullet points. And I just want to commend you that you put on two very specific things that I think we've talked about. One is getting parents engaged. No one ever talked about that. I think they just became a way to help the Booster Club instead of actually helping with the schools, be a liaison between administration and the teachers. Because I'm sure teachers just can't go to administration and vent their laundry without having some repercussions. So I think that's important. And the other one is, I think the huge one here is morale enhancement and workplace environment. I think that's huge. I think that's where most of the problem, I think, stems from. And I look forward to seeing improvements in those things. I think the other thing about, just one thing about the supplement. I think the supplement was, the state pays flat across the board, and I think the supplement was come up with because certain areas have different costs of living. So I think the supplement is the bridge in the cost of living from town to town. I think it was one of the big issues, or where the supplements ended up coming from. Just a quick thing on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yeah, I just want to ask Commissioner Carver, what changed your mind? So it's not about the teachers. Some of the teachers, we proposed a supplemental increase for the last couple of years that you've been on the board, and you voted against it. So it's not really about the teachers for you, it's about the board leadership. Is that accurate?
I think the basic impression that I had is that the only real influence this board has on them, because we're constrained to continue to supply the amount of money we promised in the past, is to find some sort of a lever to get their attention. And the attention is that, I'm sorry, we can't increase, in my opinion, a supplement for teachers when the system as a whole, both the board and the superintendent, were not focusing on achievement and growth. We talked about programs, we talked about a whole bunch of things, but not achievement and growth. And I said that 2 years in a row. Now I think we got their attention. It's not just us going that direction. I think it makes good sense. They are focusing on achievement and growth.
Whose attention do you now have?
Well, I guess that's a really good way to put the question. I feel like that this board understands the community wants to improve the schools. They also understand that this board wants to improve the schools.
That was my point.
And they're demonstrating it.
It's not about the teachers.
No.
It's about the board.
No, I believe the teachers are functioning in an amazing environment right now. I understand your question.
All right.
Any other questions?
No, I've heard enough.
I have one question, but I do want to commend you on the performance audit, and I assume that there's going to be some results coming from that and adjustments made?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, on the middle of our July board meeting, we are asking the auditors to come in, and they will be presenting it at a regular board meeting under an agenda item, so it will be recorded. Some things is not going to be surprising. The county commissioners did this 10 years ago, but there are some things that will be enlightening for our school system. We just need to know exactly where we're at so we can move forward. So that is something that would be open to the public to watch at our school board meeting in July. And we actually had them do the organization and management. There's a few great ideas going on there, as long as with the new superintendent about how they manage the organization within our own structures. Interesting fact is that we found that the #1 reason for teachers to leave Lee County schools or to leave a county school program is lack of support from central office. The #1 reason that they remain in the schools is the principals. And I thought that was very enlightening for me to learn that. So for us to go ahead with that, they also went through the educational service delivery, HR, personnel, financial management, transportation, food services, and technology. Security is not on there because we felt like we would like to have that audit done and performed locally with our sheriff department here as well to do that. But that should be coming out around the middle of July.
You touched upon teachers departing and reasons why. And I wanted to know, do you have a program in place where you're going to start doing a survey on teachers departing? We noticed that you have over 30% of your teachers are 5 years or less.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if that's burnout.
You are correct. We are actually working with the superintendent that we have now because board members were never told, you never got a chance to hear what their exit surveys were. I actually go so far as to call them even if they're in another state working. And that's how I got that information before. And that way we kind of know what they were looking for, why they chose to leave, or why they're staying. We've got a new public information officer on board. We actually have two. They hired another one to work part-time on their contract to be able to get out to the schools and be able to put out publicly why they like to work in our public schools, what brings them to work every day. Not talking about the bus or the car they're driving, but what makes them want to be a teacher in Lee County schools. Now, in reference to the pay, it's not just that, oh, they need the pay and that's what we're looking at. I would love to be able to go to certain places and not see a teacher behind the counter. I went to UPS and there's a teacher working behind the counter. I got to the gas station, there was a teacher working behind the counter because they have to come up with supplementary incomes and stuff. But it's not just that. It's also, if you think about it from a county commissioner's point of view, not only does it help with that, it helps strengthen the pipeline for teachers in the future. That is a profession that most people are saying, I don't want to be a teacher, because they're seeing all the stuff on the news and they just think this is not a job I want to do. It also helps them have less local dependence on some of our government services. How many teachers you know on food stamps? Has anybody ever looked into that? How many of them having to use resources within our own government? And does it always mean that higher pay for our teachers means our students will do better? I told you the brutal truth is no. Very little in the short term. In the long term, it will. In the short term, multiple studies, and I went through all the human resources and their PhD documentation and stuff. This is peer-reviewed documentation, not somebody just putting their comments online somewhere. But it has shown that, yes, you can increase the teacher pay, but that is not definitely a guaranteed solution that it would increase the performance. What I honestly believe will increase the performance is more open communication, camaraderie within the school, a great leadership, a central office that supports them in what they do, and a community that can show that appreciation as well. And that's the best that we can possibly do, sir. But we'll continue to do anything that you guys consider. I mean, if you have recommendations, you have a liaison. We've also discussed the possibility of performance, supplements based on teachers' performance. But it's not really a teacher's performance, it's the student's performance. But then we have to look at everything. Are you just taking them to task to learn how to, pass a test? So we look at all these things together. That's why you don't have a quick answer about what we're going to do with a building that just recently burnt down. We don't even know what the insurance amount was on that as well. So we do all these things deliberately, but just for today, and this one budget hearing, this was what we have come up with that we believe is a good plan to move forward.
How many teacher vacancies do you have now?
How many do we have? How many do we have total now?
Commissioner Reeves?
Teacher vacancies.
What was that
Teacher
question?
vacancies.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
He said approximately 30 for next year. I thought it was 27, but
How many shortages do we have with the county staff?
We had 26 vacancies as of last week. Is that correct, Nita?
We got a new
Victoria, can I
HR
put you on the
person, so
spot?
we're
How
on
many
that.
vacancies do you have? It's a consistent theme across the boards that I have to sit on, the vacancies that we have in government, in our schools, in our administrations, in our county governments, in our services that we provide. That's a continuing thing. We have jobs, ladies and gentlemen.
And our budget, by the way, when we get our performance audit back, we've also asked them to look into about our employments and how we have. Sometimes there might be someone who can actually do 2 jobs. So we're looking more at the quality of what we have versus the quantity. There may be a position that may not need to be filled. So I just want you to know that we're looking at every aspect that we possibly can.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, board. Thank you, staff from the school board. We appreciate your visiting and presenting. And it is my duty to take a 10-minute recess. Do you have a clock for 10 minutes, Colin? 1 minute. Okay, we could please come back to order.
That's fun.
Do I have all my commissioners? I'm missing one. There it is. Feedback. Next item on the agenda is the Lee County Fiscal Year 2024 budget presentation, and I turn it over to the manager.
Good evening. It's with great pride I bring to you the budget proposal for 23-24. The budget goals that we set out with for this fiscal year upcoming is to lower the property tax rate, to retain our county workforce, and to preserve financial stability. Our revenue assumptions for the year were that our proposed tax rate is 65 cents per $100 valuation. 1 penny in the new year will produce $878,247. The ad valorem taxes for the fiscal year 23-24 would be $57,086,037. That's compared to the 65-cent rate is compared to the current rate of 73 cents. And 1 penny in the current year produced approximately $662,353. The revenue neutral rate, as we have to disclose, is 57.17 cents. And the calculation of that is shown here, and I know that does not show up the easiest for everybody, but we take our growth over the last 3 years or since the last revaluation, and if you look down near the very bottom corner there, you'll see where the calculation comes out to 57.17, and this calculation is using the Local Government Commission's spreadsheet for calculating revenue neutral on a 4-year cycle. Other revenue assumptions in the property tax, our tax base for 23-24 is estimated to be $8,864,360,800 compared to our base for 22-23 of $6,682,332,700. That's an increase of $2,182,028,100. I'm sorry. That's an increase per penny of the levy of $215,894, bringing our total increase in our ad valorem revenue of $8,734,032, or 17.87% increase in our revenues. Sales tax, we're seeing an average growth right now of about 9%, and we're budgeting for a growth of 5% in the fiscal year 24. So our total budgeted sales tax is $27,219,851. I'm sorry, in your PowerPoint printout, these slides were flipped. So our total revenues for the year are $105.4 million. And you'll see that, of course, ad valorem counts for the majority of that at 55% of our revenues. The local option sales tax accounts for 26%. Intergovernmental revenues account for 10%. Sales and services, which is the fees that we charge in various departments, accounts for 4%. The fund balance appropriation in this budget proposal counts for 3%. And then other revenues account for 2%. And you'll see the breakdown of the other revenues, which is $2.3 million in total. And you'll see the breakdown of where those are coming from on the right there. Expenditure assumptions in this budget. Our budget totals $105,438,073. Personnel impacts account for the largest portion of that budget and change in that budget, and that's the implementation of the new pay plan that you previously approved, the cost of living adjustment, which we'll talk about a little bit more, the health insurance increase, retirement contribution increase, and new positions. We also are impacted by several things on the operating side, inflationary increases, employee retention, and property and liability insurance increases. Breakdown of the personnel impacts, as we explained to you when we brought to you the pay plan, the cost of that would be approximately $2.4 million. The cost of living adjustment, according to your financial policies, we would do a 7% COLA this year, and that approximate cost of that is $1.8 million. Health insurance increase, we had an 8% increase recommended, and that roughly is costing us $321,000. We also are seeing a rate increase in the retirement contribution that is set by the state, and that's $150,000 approximately in cost to us. Additional personnel impacts are the new positions requested. We had 32 new positions requested this year, which indicates that, our departments are needing to grow to meet the needs and demands of the community and the departments to maintain our current facilities. DSS requested 4 positions. Those are related to Medicaid expansion. Fire Marshal, we expanding that department. We needed 1 more person. Health Department requested 2. Sheriff and the Sheriff for Animal Control requested 2. And in parentheses, you'll see the number that are recommended. Libraries requested 3. Emergency Management requested 1. General Services requested 11 positions. The Sheriff Department itself requested 1. The jail requested 4. And the Tax Department requested 3. And you'll see of the 32, this budget does recommend 15 of those positions. The budget impact of the recommended was $787,205 versus the requested of $1.8 million. And we did take into account if there would be funding for some of those positions that help offset the county cost. Operating impacts, inflationary increases that we're seeing across the board in all of our departments. Our utilities are going up. The contract for our employee health clinic did go up this year. The medical contract for the jail, food contracts for jail and senior services saw inflationary increases. Our shared department costs for the city were up due to positions and COLA adjustments. We're seeing an increase in fuel costs, and we're seeing large increases anywhere from 10 to 20% in vehicle costs to buy new vehicles for the departments. Other operating impacts, there's been a big emphasis from the board to do employee retention and work on things to increase that. One thing I had put in this budget was $20,000 to begin a tuition reimbursement program. We will be structuring that similar to what the City of Sanford offers, and we'll be coming to you later if this is approved in the budget to bring to you the actual policy. Economic and physical development area, we have seen an increase in our incentives based on contractual commitments. Those are budgeted at $1.5 million. That's an $893,173 increase over the current year. The interest on the spec building, the lease that you approved tonight, that is a $231,250 cost in our budget, which is $150,000 roughly over the current year. We have been very lucky with the spec buildings that we have built to manage to lease or sell those prior to the lease interest in kicking in. This time we will have to start paying that, so we will be dealing with that. We're also seeing a property and liability increase of approximately 30%, and that's due to the reinsurance market. It's not necessarily that we've had high claims as far as Lee County goes, but the reinsurance market is forcing everybody's insurance up. So the association risk pool has pretty much told us we're looking at 30% increase there. Lee County Schools, you heard their budget request this evening of $21,978,034. The increase that is recommended for them is $523,500, bringing the total current expense recommendation to $20,134,024. That leaves a difference of $1,844,010 that is not funded of their request. Capital, they requested $1,347,500. That is recommended to stay at that. That is the current level. And then they asked for the $600,000 for Jonesboro Elementary to be demolished, and that is recommended in this budget at this time. Central Carolina Community College requested a current allocation of $3,412,305. And then they requested, I'm sorry, that was the current allocation. They requested an addition of $182,195, bringing their total request to $3,594,500. What is recommended is a $100,000 increase, which leaves a difference of $82,195. They asked for the special allocation of $250,000 for the College Promise Program, and based on our contractual agreement with them, that is funded at the full amount. Of course, we only pay based on what they actually need to do that. So if they don't have enough students in the program to merit the whole $250,000, it is not given to them until we see the invoices. The Moore Center allocation is $920,000. That is what we had allocated this year, and that is staying the same. They requested $64,930 from the Civic Center for the Civic Center operations. That is the same as the current year, and that is fully recommended. They requested $110,000 for capital outlay, and that is recommended also. Other items of note in the budget is the debt and capital reserve funding. For the last several years, we have been funding 8.61 cents, or putting 8.61 cents of our tax rate to debt and capital reserve. With the revenue revaluation taking place, to stay at the same level of funding as 8.61 cents was producing, it would take a rate of 6.35 cents, and that is what is recommended in this budget, is to continue to fund that at the level we would have been if we had not had the reval, or as close to it as we could get. Solid waste fees will remain the same for fiscal year 23-24. So here's a summary of all the projected total expenditures. Again, it totals out to the 105.4, leading us to a balanced budget. As you can see, education accounts for the largest portion of our budget, and that is not adding in the debt service that's particularly allocated to them, but that is explained to you in the budget message. Health and welfare makes up the next largest percentage there. So, as you have heard, we are recommending that we go to, for the fire districts, that we go to a flat tax of 10 cents. This will provide consistency in the taxation, and we are proposing that the Fire Advisory Board will still review district budgets and make recommendations to the county, just as they did this year, and then we took those budgets and calculated the rate that was necessary to meet those. The rates for 22-23 range from 8 cents to 14.5 cents. At 10 cents, 4 districts will see a decreased rate and 3 will have increases, and you can see on page 11 of your budget document those adjustments. The next steps, we have a budget work session scheduled for Friday, May 19th at 8:30 here at the McSwain Center. The departments that will be presenting are here to present to you and or answer questions will be General Services, DSS, Sheriff, Library, and Parks and Recreation. If there's any other department that you would like to be here, if you will let me know, we can let them know and make that adjustment. We are scheduled to have a budget public hearing on Monday, June 5th at 6 o'clock, and I believe that is here also. Sorry, I didn't put that on there. After the public hearing, the commissioners can adopt the budget at any time before June 30th. And then on Monday, June 19th at 6 p.m. is the last scheduled commissioners meeting for the fiscal year 22-23. So unless you can either adopt it immediately after the public hearing, or you can adopt the budget on June 19th without scheduling a special meeting. And you can schedule any other work sessions that you may like. And to close, I'd like to express my appreciation to the department heads for their budgets that they submitted. They did an excellent job of stating their needs, and I funded those to the best of the ability to meet the budget goals of the commissioners, but they are not fully funded. And I also would like to thank Administration and Human Resources and Finance for their help in helping me get this budget put together and getting it ready for you and turning it over to you. I also want to express my appreciation to the Board of Commissioners for your support, and I will now turn this budget over to you and let y'all do your work on it, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Questions for Lisa? Commissioner Carver?
Yeah, I think it's a remarkable experience to go through this reappraisal process, the reevaluation process. And that I think it gives a much better understanding of exactly what constitutes real growth in the county. Real growth means that people come in and they add a business. We go ahead and get some additional taxes, and there are more people to pay the price. A reappraisal means that that responsibility gets passed to everybody. When I look at the work that you all have done in the budget, I really marvel. You guys deserve that award that you get every year. there's an awful lot of things to consider. And in that sense, the balance is, what are we going to do in terms of the tax rate? Where are we going to try to set it? And I think if I understand the argument clearly in what you've put in these documents that you gave us on Friday, is that this whole issue of catching up with some things we haven't done in the past is important, recognizing that we have growth that we have to deal with, and being able to provide consistent services under all that situation is important, in addition to the pay plan that we had. So the justification for increasing the amount of money that we got to spend is there. Again, the question is, where do we put the amount? If I understand correctly, you're recommending 65 cents. We just had a discussion with the school board, and my thought would be that we might want to consider adding another penny to that to make it 66. But in any case, I think as a commissioner, I have the responsibility to talk to the community and say, we're doing it in a responsible way, but we're also looking to the future. In the future, I think we have to be committed to the idea that as people are added to our county and the number of people who can pay the taxes increase, that we ought to go back to the kind of concept we had in the past 2 years, where we do everything we can to lower that tax rate going on from here. And that we do understand up front that this is a significant amount of increase in money. And if you just sit down and do a little bit of negotiations or thoughts about it, if you have a $100,000 house at 73 cents, a while ago, that's $730. If your appraisal raised you to $130,000, you're now above $800 or $845. So that's just at a $100,000 house. And obviously the other businesses are looking at a tax increase. That's what it is. But I think the manager's made a good argument as to why we have to go there, and has kind of hit on an appropriate level for right now. The one concern that I think I have is the fact that we're not increasing the amount of money that we're saving. We went ahead and negotiated it so that we kind of stay at the same cash flow, and I'm concerned about that. But other than that, I'd say I think we're ready to move forward, and I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick.
One of the questions I have, and I heard the concern tonight through the fire departments, the fund balances they have now, will that stay theirs, or will it go in a pot? What are we looking at on that?
Yes, sir. I told them that we would freeze those as of 6/30/23 by the individual fire districts. And then anything after we go to the flat tax rate will go to a combined reserve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Connect?
You said freeze those? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, whatever balance they have as of 6/30/23 after we complete the audit, it will be maintained by district.
By the districts that was collected in?
Right. And they
Right. I
would
think
have
that's
to
one
go to
of
the
the
fire
concerns.
advisory board and request the use of those funds, and that would have to be brought to you by recommendation of the fire advisory board.
Do you have more meetings scheduled with the fire advisory board so they get some more clarity on their concerns?
If they request those, yes. We went with them and had very few questions that night, but I'll be glad, Jennifer and I will be glad to go back and meet with them again to answer any additional questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
I don't have any tonight that I won't bring up Friday.
Okay.
So,
Commissioner Reeves?
I just got one. Any of our departments moving to electric vehicles?
Not at this time. I did not have any requests for electric vehicles.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Sharp, questions?
Yes, sir. My constituents that I've talked to, when we talk about the property tax rate, they're not looking at this rate. They're looking at how much more I got to pay over last year. So if we move it to 65 and they have to pay $1,500 more a year, that's what they're paying attention to. So I'm concerned about that. So with that, I would say we got to get our rate right. And no disrespect to the county manager, but I think we could go lower on our property tax rate. I don't know if I'm out on an island by myself, but,
He just said 66.
well, that's what he said. I said lower. But,
I heard both of them.
But we have Friday morning.
yeah, and we can talk about all this, Friday morning. But I do think it's something that we need to get right because, the revaluation was up. You know, we're bringing the tax rate down, but they're
What's
still
the
having to
tax rate
pay.
increase right now is what, I think what, 12%, 13% compared to what we're paying now? Yeah. It's a-
So,
No, it's a concern, you're correct.
okay, okay, I'll leave it at that. So, and as we were going through this, the tax rate and the fire district funding is really concerning to me. Now, I may have missed something, but was this a county management, a county manager recommendation or?
It has come up several different times over my tenure here with Lee County, and we have talked about it several different times. It came up back at your retreat. Dr. Crumpton addressed it in the memo that he provided to the board members at the retreat and talked about it and said, felt like the revaluation time was a good time to take a look at it. Of course, we had to wait till we got the bases in to be able to see if we thought it was a good time. And with a small differential in the rates, once I got their budgets and could calculate, got the values for each district and got the budgets from the districts and could calculate what the flat rate would be, it looked like it was a good time. We've looked at it several other times, and the rate differentials for some of the districts were much larger. Some were going up a much larger amount than the 2 cents that we would see in one district. And so we felt like this was a good time to take a look at it, to start moving towards, a more equal service level. It's not going to happen automatically or immediately. We know that. But it's a way to start the process. Their budgets were already submitted for this year when I got the basis. So I just took the budgets that were approved by the Fire Advisory Board, which is a normal process, and calculated what a rate would be to meet those budgets this year.
So the money that they have in their bank account or reserve or money that they have already, they would have to go to the
Fire Advisory
board
Board.
to ask
No different
permission?
than what they would normally have to do.
Would that be what they would normally have to
Yes.
do before they
That
spend
is,
it?
the fund balances are used in calculating their rates from year to year.
Does this all come apart because, we have some annexation issues and that can hurt some portions of the county or?
Yes. One reason Dr. Crumpton was looking at it was because we are having issues with the city's annexation out in certain areas, and that this would hopefully be able to help us address some of that.
For sake of time, I'm just going to make a recommendation that we talk about this again on Friday.
It's on Friday.
Add it on the
It
agenda.
is.
Yeah, okay. I'm good.
If we decided to go back to the old way of doing it it doesn't affect the budget, does it, or does it?
No. We would have to recalculate the rates, which I can do quickly, and we would have to post those. It may be tight for us to get the budget adopted for the fire districts if we go back to the individual rates. We may have to hold a special meeting so that we can run the notice of those fire rates.
But as far as your .65 or 65 cent recommendation.
For the county rate, no.
Wouldn't that have any effect
No,
at
it would
all?
not affect the county rate, other than the flat rate would be added on to each bill as the fire district rate. No different than what you see now. You would see the normal individual districts.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Thank you.
So do I need to move over for the CIP? Okay.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. It's a joy to be able to speak with you all tonight about the capital improvement plan that I've had the honor to be able to work on. As a management fellow, this is as I said, it's a great honor to be able to work on this and to be able to present this to you tonight. Really quick, I'm just going to go over what was requested, what's recommended, and then I'll go over each request very quickly. First off, the capital improvements plan, or the CIP, is only for, it's a strategic plan for major capital improvements with projects that have a over $500,000 price tag. It is a 5-year plan, so it runs from fiscal year 2023, 2024 through fiscal year 2027, 2028. And we have worked to recommend a prioritization of the projects. And further down the road, we would work to create a funding plan to fund the high priority projects. So total capital requested this year was $364,417,827. As I'll go over in just a minute, it is a large increase over the previously adopted CIP. The majority of this request has come from the school system with 38%. Community development came in at 23%, public safety at 20%, CCCC at 18%, and then a couple small projects at administration and human services. Our total recommended CIP is at $311,110,427. When I say recommended, this just means that it has been included in the specific 5 years. If we moved it to the beyond category, that technically was not recommended, but it will still be in your plan that you can see. As you can see here, the 2023-2027 adopted CIP has $133.3 million worth of projects in it, and our recommended has $311.1 million. We're looking at a lot that could possibly be needed to be built in this county, and we're going to definitely have to look at ways that we can fund it, because it will be impossible to fund all of that. So I'll just quickly go through now each of the projects. In administration, we have the general services expansion. That comes in at $2,122,435. This was requested for fiscal year 24, and we moved it back to fiscal year 26. This project previously had upgraded the fuel services, but that is no longer in this project. In the Lee County school system, they have the Southern Lee High School auditorium and 6 classrooms. That is up from 4 classrooms to 6 classrooms for this year. Their total estimated cost was at $13.3 million. They requested it to start in fiscal year 24, and we are recommending fiscal year 25. This would be to build a new auditorium and then to create new walkways, do some other general refurbishments. The auditorium was removed from the original plans when the school was constructed, and it will be important to fund this project in the future so that they can have that space. We're recommending that they use some lottery proceeds to be able to fund this project along with county financing. Lee County High School, HVAC and interior renovation. We are also recommending this one move to fiscal year 25. They need to replace their HVAC system in the auditorium, and they can tie into their existing chiller plant and add a boiler. And then they additionally will be doing some renovations. And we also recommend that they will use some financing and lottery proceeds for that. And then the next two are the West Lee and East Lee new gym and renovations. They both come in at $11.1 million, $11.2 million. We've recommended that these will be in fiscal year 26. They both need new gyms. Their current gyms are not, they do not have regulation courts. I know that they've requested this year to.
So is that the cost for each or for both combined?
Nope, that is for each project.
Thank you.
They both come in at 11.16. These would be funded via financing. And then lastly, they have requested 2 new schools, one being a new elementary school. We have pushed that to fiscal year 27. Their most recent cost estimate for that is $43.3 million. And that would, a bond would be necessary to fund that. And then also a new middle school. This was the one project that we have pushed to the beyond category, so it technically was not recommended, but you can still find it in the chart. We would need to see more demand for that to be pushed closer. And their most recent cost estimate was at $53.3 million, and that would additionally have to be a bond. For Central Carolina Community College, as you know, there's been a lot of investment in the Magneti Marelli factory, or the Magneti Marelli purchased the building, and a majority of the requests come in that. First off, I'll go quickly. This one has already been committed to. They're a truck driver training center. They will be renovating that, and that is going to be starting soon. The bioprocessing building renovation, that is also going to be starting soon, and those are covered from financing that I believe is the financing that was just recently done. Their main building renovation, Phase 1, will be mainly covered via grants that they have. They claim that they have enough grants to cover almost most of this. I think it's $1.9 million that they would be requesting for us to finance. You can find that information in the back of your packet. And this would be just Phase 1, so just 25,000 square feet of the existing 180,000. Then they have these are all ranked in priority. Then they have their Lee Early College and CCCC Library project. They estimate this one to come in at $3 million. This one is highly reliant on the progress of the Moore Center. As we've stated previously, they need a new library for their accreditation, and they also intend to use that library space to be able to hold classrooms for the Lee Early College program. Funding will most likely come from grants for this. Again, a lot of these projects are up in the air depending on the progress of the Moore Center. And lastly, we have Phase 2 of the Moore Center with a $50 million price tag. This one we've recommended to move to fiscal year 27. We will not be able to do this one without the help of state support. We're hopeful that we will be able to possibly see something from that over the next couple state budgets, but this project is reliant on that. For community development, as you already know, we're working on the new library project. That is already in the late design. The multi-sports complex, that is, will be going out to bid shortly and hopefully starting construction soon. The indoor iron furnace site, we've requested for that one to begin in fiscal year 25. We have been in talks with the state government to be able to take over this site and build a park there, where they can possibly build new biking trails, disc golf course, for land that might be taken over at O.T. Sloan Park. You have the O.T. Sloan Inclusive Playground. This one will be mainly funded via grants. That, as Chairman Smith, he got the letter from the governor that we were awarded the matching grant, and this is what this will be going towards. We have the O.T. Sloan Recreation Center. This has been a previously requested project. We recommend that this one moves to fiscal year 26. It would just be a new space to have permanent new facilities for basketball courts, volleyball courts, and new office space for Parks and Recreation staff. This would most likely have to be a bond as well. For human services, we have the animal shelter expansion. This would be expanding the animal shelter to decrease euthanasia rates. This one has been moved back to fiscal year 26 until we see some more demand from euthanasia rates actually being too high. This one needs to be on the hold. For public safety, we have the Viper radio system upgrade. As we've spoken about this previously, we are recommending that this one still move forward, so we will be able to upgrade our radio systems. We have a combined public safety warehouse. This was a joint request from the Sheriff's Office and Emergency Services. We are recommending this one begin in fiscal year 25. They need a central location to store equipment and provide training and other essential operations. And then lastly, this is a placeholder because we need new jail space, we need new courtrooms, we need new everything. And this estimate was based off of a surrounding county that, based on square footage, we'd probably need $65 million to build a new judicial center that could hold courtrooms, new jail space, office for the sheriff. As we move forward, this is something that needs to be addressed, whether it's a combined facility or separate. We just wanted to make sure that it was included in the 5-year CIP because it's very important. Next steps, we will have a public hearing on June 5th. You can have a CIP work session if you all call one. And then lastly, you can adopt it. And that is all I have for you. I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for Ben? Commissioner Sharp?
No, I don't have any.
Commissioner Reeves?
I hope we get a lot of grants.
I hope so as well.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
Do you want to write some of them?
I just want the money.
I just had a question on the Viper system update. Has there been a meeting planned with the city and the police department that you're aware of?
No.
Okay, cool.
They actually turned it down.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Commissioner?
Thank you.
Okay, I get nodding heads. Commissioner Carter?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Strategic plan adoption and report out. Madam Clerk?
All right, good evening, Commissioners. For the sake of time, I'll try to be as short and sweet as possible, but I have two things for you related to the strategic plan this evening. The first is our Q2 report out that shows our progress on our goals for our current plan, and there's a lot of great items in here, and I can take any questions on those, but feel free to peruse that when you have a moment. I know you've gotten a lot of information tonight. And then the second item is the plan itself, which is we update it on an annual basis and did so after hearing from staff and, of course, you all at your board retreat in January. There weren't major updates to the plan this year. We just made some minor tweaks to objectives. We didn't touch any key areas or goals. Just tweak some of the objectives. Updated the photos and as well as the demographics with the help of our Strategic Services Department and the Sanford Area Growth Alliance. I'm happy to take any questions about this, but we are asking for a vote this evening so that way we can go ahead as staff and continue working on it for the next year.
Commissioner Sharp walked out. Okay, Commissioner Reeves, questions?
No.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
No questions? Commissioner Carver?
Under partnerships, we have an objective that says create new opportunities to make community collaboration more accessible. Okay, that's under the expand partnerships regions goal. Anyway, recently I attended during Ag Week a land use and legacy planning panel. And that panel venue was a number of people up there who were aware of this, and then there were a whole bunch of citizens that listened to what they had to say, plus a good discussion going back and forth. It was kind of like a town meeting concept. And what I'd like to recommend in the context of what we're talking about is for this create new opportunities to make community collaboration more accessible, that we consider doing a town hall kind of concept that we get the county staff and the county and the Board of Commissioners involved in. And for example, the idea might be crystallized by what would you do with it kind of thing. Well, if we had a topic like the welfare and development of youth in Lee County, I think we'd find a whole bunch of people who are not only invested in making those improvements in Lee County or doing that work, there are a lot of ideas in education and some of the problems we have with crime to some degree and things like that where people might have some input. And it creates an environment where I experienced there in the Ag Week was very encouraging, not only because people have strong opinions they want to express, but also they have really good ideas. And I'd like to see that kind of format and collaboration bring us closer to this kind of objective. So I'd ask you to consider that in what you're doing, and I don't know how you would formalize that, but that was just some thought as I went through it. You think we might be able to do something like that?
Oh, we certainly can, if that's the direction of the board, of course. If you would like that to be a specific objective, that would just be altering the plan, but we could, based on this, the wording of this objective, I think make that an action step that staff work to carry out.
I was thinking more of an action step, but I just wanted to provide that proposal tonight since we're talking about the strategic plan. Thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. No other, oh, I'm sorry, we had two step out, I'm sorry. You have any questions?
Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Sharp?
I'm sure Ms. Hall's doing a great job.
Okay.
You need to approve the plan.
We do need a motion to approve the strategic plan.
To approve.
Motion's been made to approve the strategic plan adoption and report out. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item up is the monthly financial reports. Ms. Eisman? Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Vice Chair.
Good evening. You have before you your sales tax revenue reports for February 2023. Just as a reminder, the sales tax revenue reports do run 3 months behind. We are up 9.44% over the same period last fiscal year. The April monthly financial report is also attached. We have exceeded ad valorem. We've exceeded 100% in ad valorem tax collections. And the targeted percentage used for expenditures for this period is 83.33%. Several departments are over this target due to the inclusion of encumbrances. If you exclude the encumbrances, there are a few departments that remain over budget. They include finance for annual agreements and unexpected equipment costs, juvenile detention for the increased quantity and stay duration of Lee County juveniles, EMS for the purchase of CPR machines, and planning and human services nonprofits for the payment of appropriations.
Questions from Ms. Eisman? Commissioner Carver?
None.
Commissioner Levick? Commissioner Connect? Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Sharp?
None.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
County Manager's report for May.
I know it's getting late, so I'll go through this very quickly. As far as the Moore Training Facility, we are meeting with TerraQuest on Wednesday to get an update on where we are on that project. They did do their last vacuuming. I know they did find more material than they had hoped, so we will be meeting with them to discuss our next options. Multi-sports complex is still moving ahead. We are working with DOT and hope to get things in place to keep this on target for our bids to go out and be back in by the end of June, but that may have to be adjusted. Horton Pool, as you can see here, as of May 9th, there are still several unfinished items that were scheduled to be complete. So the next on-site meeting with them and the engineers and the contractors is scheduled for May 18th, which is when they are supposed to have been at substantial completion. So we will be taking, if they are not there, we will be taking the actions that we need to follow up on that. You can read the status of the Kiwanis Children's Park and Temple Park. We are still working on the library design project. Historic Courthouse is still moving ahead, and the EMS parking rehab is being worked on. You have various reports in your agenda that you can review. Upcoming meetings, you can look at that schedule there. We have our budget work session, as I mentioned earlier, on Friday. North Carolina The Association of County Advocacy Days are May 23rd and 24th. We have a meeting on June 1st, and then June 15th are our meeting dates. And then tomorrow, I just want to remind you all that we have started back our Star Awards for our employees, and those will be held tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the Gordon Wicker Room. And we'd love for any commissioner that can come to come out and help us recognize our employees for outstanding work and our various attributes that we honor them for. And that completes my report.
Questions for the manager? Commissioner Carver?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Lovick? Commissioner Knapp? Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Sharp?
No.
Okay. All right, Commissioner comments, starting with Commissioner Sharp.
Yeah, I had 4 or 5 things jotted down, but I'm just going to cut it back to 2. So I think, but I'm going to make them quick. We might need to, Friday, I think we need to rethink this flat tax on the fire, the volunteer fire departments. These guys have brought up some significant issues, and I think we need to talk about that further. Number 2, we talked a lot about teachers tonight, and as it pertains to teachers and staff, I just want them to get paid. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Reeves.
As it relates to the fire tax situation, I think a simple summary, sort of like you did with getting to revenue neutral, you gave a formula, something along that line so that everybody's in the same mindset may be helpful.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Connect?
Two things, I think, I had a phone call about a little confusion on what the DOT is going to do with US 1 Tramway. I don't know if we can get an update on that from them or staff, if they've talked to them. So there has been some confusion as to what they plan to do with that particular area. Also, do we get an update on opening on Sundays for the convenience centers? Or that's still a no-go because?
We have not chosen to open those back up because of the amount of material that was coming in.
You just can't move it yet,
Right.
still? That's still an issue? Now, we know the convenience centers are open on Saturday till 5, right? That was
Yes, just
determined.
the
It was just
landfill.
that the landfill was closed.
It's in at noon.
So they just have to take it to a convenience center, correct? Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
Just thank you to everyone who came out tonight with your concerns. We did hear you. I don't know if we'll give you your exact results that you want to hear because each one's got their own thing, but I assure you we will try to do our very best for the citizens of Lee County, hearing you guys. But I appreciate that. A lot of good presentations tonight and a lot of good work. I know it's a long night, but thanks for everyone to come out.
Commissioner Carver?
My only comment is that that's tomorrow morning at 8:30, that ceremony?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I have a doctor's appointment, but I just want to express my appreciation for people that work hard and get recognized in the way they are. And I'm just sorry I can't be there, but thank you for setting it up.
I have a few things. First off, to all the mothers that celebrated Mother's Day yesterday, I want to put our condolences out to some and give grief and such to others and celebrate those who enjoy what they do. Thank you for the staff and the department heads for putting together the budget and the CIP. I did hand out everyone Senate Bill 425 regarding the Medicaid omnibus, Medicaid agency omnibus bill. There are some key points on there. I would encourage you to get a hold of your representative. His name is John Sauls. And then we do have a family member in the high places that would probably need to have these notes so that we can defer the Department of Health and Human Services taking over all the responsibilities and leaving the counties totally out of the LME MCO system as far as what we have going for us today. We will be working with Harnett, Moore, Hoke, and Lee counties to try to put together a consolidation and agreement to prepare for a behavioral health urgent care facility light that was mentioned at the breakfast. It's a matter of herding cats, trying to get all these commissioners to get on the same sheet of music, because both the commissioner from Moore County, I've been going back and forth, and Harnett County. So we'll work something out, get something going. Hopefully, I saw Heath left, okay. Hopefully we can work something in there. Other than that, do I have
So moved.
a motion to adjourn has been made? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.